Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Jake Cohen. I'm the marketing coordinator here at Network Concepts. Thank you for joining today's webinar, 5 Keys to Disaster Recovery Planning for Small SMBs. This is a pre-prep session for our Datto Lunch and Learn. That's coming up May 25th, and we'll address a little bit more about that a little later. I'm here with Tyler Pritchard, who's going to give us the groundwork on a disaster recovery plan. I just have one housekeeping rule. If you guys do have a question, please put that into the chat and we'll bring that up a little bit later in the webinar. So yeah, let's get started. Tyler, would you like to take it away?
Sure, thanks, Jake. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyler Pritchard of Network Concepts. We specialize in helping clients with security, networking, remote access, as well as e-business and website development. I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon on this, because I know this is a subject that people don't like to talk about, but it's a subject that, has to be addressed. Before we get rolling, I know that there's some people that are on the webinar that I don't know personally, so I want to briefly introduce Network Concepts. Since establishing itself as a complete IT solution provider in 2004, we were started with the idea of really changing the technology consulting business as it is today. A group of us got together and we have different backgrounds. Some of us were consultants, some of us were corporate, and we really tried to shape this company into something different a little over 10 years ago. We now only specialize in small to mid-sized businesses. We don't deal with like the enterprise market at all. So all the solutions that we deal with are designed for the SMB market, and that's where our customers are. We have a deep understanding of IT networks. We're not an accounting firm that's going to send their one IT guy out to redo your whole network because they work for the accounting firm and they're just trying to, slap on a couple extra bucks. We do this every day. That's all we do. That's all most of us have ever done is IT. The other thing is we try to build value into everything we do. This goes from seminars, lunches, even the products. Like before we roll out a product or a service, we try to get feedback from all the customers to say, hey, is this something you guys want? Is this valuable? Does this fit your bill? And what that really means is we focus on your IT so you can focus on your business and do what you're good at and grow yourself and make more money. So before we get too deep into this, we have to sit down and you have to figure out how you define a disaster. Like, what is a disaster to you? Because for everybody, it's a little bit different. Disaster recovery is a fairly well understood concept in our industry. And most companies do plan for disaster recovery needs to some extent. But disaster recovery, the meaning in our industry is the ability to resume operations after a disaster. So that's a pretty simple explanation. While the disaster being prepared for is typically destruction of the data center, which is that's what we deal with, and that's what your plans are for, is total annihilation. The plans can really be used for minor disruptions too. So you can see all the things up here: equipment failure, power loss, water leaks. They're not major disasters, but a full disaster recovery plan, since it plans for the the total worst case scenario, they're used for a lot of other things. So when you're doing this, these are kind of the things that are on everybody's list. I've talked to a lot of you guys, and I've been doing this a long time, especially with disaster recoveries. I was in the corporate banking world, so I've spent a lot of time on this. People have hurricanes, floods, power outages, tornadoes, fires, crypto locker, mechanical failures. But the number one thing that people think is their biggest threat is not actually their biggest cause of disaster. Cyber criminals are not the number one threat. Everybody thinks that. They watch the news and they watch what's going on in, especially the political world. But they're rarer than you think. The number one threat, and we see this almost every day, are employees. And they're not a threat to where they're trying to do something wrong. They're the people that are running the equipment. When you're running the equipment, bad things are going to happen. They don't intentionally try to do it, but they often use free software because they're trying to help the company out. We call a lot of this shadow IT, but this really leads into a lot of problems when you get into, if you start documenting all your downtime, you're going to see what your actual threats are, and they're usually employee related. So I want to go over some statistics, kind of exactly what this says is a readiness IQ, just to get you ready and in the mindset of doing a plan. So we're going to go through some questions, and that way you'll have some facts. So the first question, in any given year, how many businesses will experience a disruption lasting more than one day? So the answer is about a third of small and mid-sized businesses will experience a disruption of their operations lasting 24 hours or more. Now these disruptions, there are various causes in them, but that's the average. How many businesses will not reopen following a disaster? For question 2. This is funny because we go through this a lot when we do these things, and this is a federal FEMA statistic. This has actually gone down. Right now it's at 43%. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was 2011 or 2012. We did a similar seminar, and it was 48%. So that's a good sign. I think a lot of that is because these solutions are getting better and they're getting cheaper, or maybe people are getting smarter. I don't know. We don't have the actual data on why. But remember, this does not take into consideration the consequences of disasters that were not major disasters. You have a lot of minor stuff that happens. These are just major disasters. If you cannot get your business back online within 5 days of disruption, what are the odds that your business will survive? Now, we don't have a lot going on in the Northeast for 5 days, but the answer is about a 10% chance. So that's not good. But the original bombing of the World Trade Center, I'm older, so I remember this, but the original 1993 bombing found that the businesses that could not resume their operations within 5 days, 90% of them were out of business a year later. So I didn't want to leave out the September 11th attack, even though that was a totally different disaster. You have to take into considerations of all the bad things if you can't get back online. And this was pretty popular back then, but there was a federal credit union. They could not get back online. So they their ACH transaction, if you work for a bank, you understand this. With them not being able to get back online, they let customers withdraw information out of ATMs, and 4,000 people fraudulently withdrew about $15 million. Now, this is a small federal credit union. The point of this is the longer you're down, the worse it gets. All right, let's go on to question 4. How many businesses worry about the loss of unrecoverable stored data and information? 50%. So 50%, it's good and it's bad. That's another number that used to be a lot higher. But that means 50% of us are doing things the right way, 50% of us are not doing things the right way. And the thing that concerns me about this survey, because I read a lot of surveys, this is an insurance company. People, and I'm not judging anybody because I know a lot of our customers, I get through the insurance stuff with you, and I kind of shade the truth, I don't lie, but we tend to lie to our insurance companies about what we're really doing. So I think that 50% is actually a little higher. All right, how many businesses have a written business continuity plan? So if you have a written business continuity plan, we're going to go with the same 50%. So 50% of us, again, are doing things right, but this is also a insurance company. So how many of us are kind of stretching the truth a little bit? I don't know. Okay, question 6. What are the most common reasons that small and medium-sized businesses fail making a business continuity plan? You got lack of knowledge, lack of time, and lack of resources. They're the top 3 reasons. I'm going to try at the end of this to help you guys out on all of those three things, or as much as I can, because it doesn't take a lot of knowledge, it doesn't take a lot of time, and it doesn't take a lot of resources. I think that this has been very confusing to businesses, and hopefully when we get through this, you're going to see how easy it is to get it started. All right, how many work hours does a typical small business lose each year when IT systems fail and employees cannot access their files? Now, remember, this is, I told you in the beginning, we specialize in small businesses. Small businesses, we specialize in SMB, in the SMB market. Small businesses are generally 100 employees. Mid-size, which is your medium, are under 100 to 1,000. So this 552 work hours on average for a small business, if you have 100 employees, you're down for 5 hours, you're at 500. You know, if you average downtime's 14 hours a year, you can see where that comes into play. We're going to give you a calculator so you can figure out where you'll be at. These are just industry averages. Okay, what is the average cost of hourly downtime when employees cannot access their computer data? This is another one that's, you know, these are surveys, but the reason that this is an important fact is the first hour is $20,000. If you look, if that increases to 3 hours, it's not 60, or you would think 50, it's 75. So no matter what your loss is, this is a fact. The longer you are down, the higher cost it is to you. And that's in every survey you look at. So it's, you know, it's scary as far as recovery time objective. Question 9. There are additional costs when small businesses lose access to their data. Costs that are more difficult to quantify. What are they? This is something that people don't think about until they're in a disaster. You got your reputation, and your reputation in business is a lot. It means more than anything, but you have customer loyalty, and third, you have staff morale. These were issues that were specifically cited by small businesses that had sustained data loss. So this is, you know, real people. It was 200 companies across North America and Europe. Computer Associates Technology really spent a lot of time on this. So, you know, this is their direct answers from people like you, except they've experienced some major issues. The other part of it was they found that of these 200 companies that did experience the data loss, they lost $26.5 billion in revenue. That is a ton. That's roughly, I mean, it's not as high, but that's almost $150,000 of business per downtime. That's something to think about. This is an average too for the SMBs, not the MBSs, but the small business market experiences about how many outages, and the answer is 6. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're going through it, it's a lot. So now we've got the readiness IQ. We're in the mindset. I want to go through the 5 keys. We call it was actually 4 keys. Then I added a 5th key, but I wanted to keep this very simple, and you'll see at the end why I had to add the 5th key. But these 5 keys are all you need to get started. So key 1 is really understanding the implications for your business. Now, I know everybody's eyes are rolling now because they see the BIA. The business impact analysis that I see some people try to do are ungodly, and that's not what, you know, I'm telling you to do. I only want you to do 2 things. I just want you to keep a disaster diary. If you begin keeping a log of disruptions in your normal operations and you gather this information, this is the first step to identifying reoccurring patterns. And that's really how IT works. We establish baselines. And this this diary, I don't want it to you guys to point fingers at employees or who makes mistakes or point fingers at us like, oh, the IT guys did it. It's not about that. It's about improving your process. So that's not that hard. That's not these 300-page BIA things. The other thing that I want you to do for the first key is identify potential threats to your business. So you can see here we're in a pretty good zone, but we had Sandy. I mean, that whacked a lot of businesses. The one side of County Line Road on the Bucks County side was dark. The other side was light. If you were on the wrong side of County Line Road during Sandy, you were in a lot of trouble. So I'm not saying Sandy's going to happen again soon, but just try to identify, the potential threats, whether it's weather conditions, reputation to your business, unable to safeguard confidential information. Those two things, that's it for your business impact analysis. Key 2, keep employees safe and informed. Employees, especially during a disaster, I mean, employees for most companies I know here, they're the most valuable asset. First of all, for most companies, they cost the most money, but they are also the most valuable asset. So you need to develop a plan to communicate with your employees in the event of a disruption. To do this, you have to have their contact information. I know when we go through this with you guys, especially a major disaster where you no longer have access to your building or your servers, it's chaos. So try to keep a list of employees and their home numbers and maybe secondary contacts, because you don't know if they're going to be at home or on their way to work. But keep this stuff preserved someplace. Now, I have to tell you, and I talked about this a lot with security, make sure that the information is secure, because it's against the law to store personal identifying information in the state of Pennsylvania insecurely. So make sure you have this information. Talk to us, or if you have your own IT advisor, talk to them, but make sure that information is available and make sure it's secure. And at the end, I'm going to give you guys something that we used, or a solution as a promo that we use and we like. So we'll talk about that at the end. And okay, now you got your employees, which is a big thing. Now you have to keep your customers engaged and informed. This is huge. When we sit with people that are going through a disaster, they have no plan on communicating with their customers, and customers start to freak out. Even here, we have dual phone systems, dual everything. We had somebody whack a pole and we lost phones for 5 minutes, and it was a big deal. We didn't lose all the phones, we lost half the phones. But so you got to keep your customers in mind. Customers get spooked very easily. So if you have a plan, a pre-written statement that you can publish on your website or social media in the event of emergency to give your customer status updates, that is huge. So you're not scrambling to write that. You also, same thing with the employee information is actually against the law. The customer information is iffy. You don't want to lose it. You don't want to store the customer information someplace on a Dropbox or anything with known vulnerabilities. And especially if you're dealing with a business associates agreement, but make sure that your customer information is stored someplace also where you can get at it. If you can't find a secure place to secure it, make sure you're not keeping anything that is under any sort of CFR regulation that could get you into trouble. So on employees, it's personal identifiable information. That's a state law. For customers, just be real careful. Even if you just have a public list, would be perfect. Now this is where we really get in to stuff in the IT world. That's what this is, ensuring the continuity of operations. Really, us as a company, we are part of your operations department. So the reality of it is your business is run on applications, computers, and networks. what you have to do, and I'll sit down and help you on this, is you have to determine how you operate your business remotely. You have to consider which operations of your business will make you make you be able to run, so you have access, if you don't have access to like your office or where you regularly go to work. And then you have to prioritize and identify the key features. Like, it'd be great if it was an unlimited fund and we could create these great disaster recovery plans. But the reality is most of you can't. Most of the SMB market doesn't have unlimited resources to do this. So you've got to prioritize and address it and figure out what you really need. And then you've got to conduct periodic drills and tests. People think that we do all this stuff for free for them behind the scenes. If you're not getting a bill from us, we're not doing it for you. So don't ever assume that somebody's doing this stuff, because I know a lot of people, they get into a disaster and they go, oh, well, we thought you were handling all this. And we didn't talk to them in a year. And I'm thinking, like, well, if we were doing all this work, we're not a nonprofit. We would be charging you for it. So make sure that it's being done. If we're doing it, everything that we do, you get a ticket. You get a ticket immediately, and then you will be billed. So obviously, if you don't read your tickets, you do read your bills. But make sure all that's getting done, and then make sure your employees are up to date on it. So even if you have us do it, we're going to check with all the employees and then send the results to everybody else. If you're going to do it yourself, make sure your employees are up to date on it. But here's really the secret sauce of disaster recovery. There's only two things you need to know. It's recovery point objective and recovery time objective. That's it. This slide is recovery point objective. So that's the basic time that you have between backups. For us, we could sustain a pretty decent loss of data, like time-wise. We figured, you have to figure it out for yourself, and we'll help you with that, but we know that at Network Concepts, data loss, we could survive with 24 hours worth of data loss, because we could really re-import that. Would it be painful? Yes. Would it kill us? No. We tend to do a couple backups in a 24-hour period, but we know with one backup, that's an acceptable loss. This is what is a problem for us, the recovery time objective. Even though we can input data later on, and we could probably get temporary staff to do that, we can't be down for a long time. So recovery time objective means, okay, we went down, how long until we are back up and running? I don't care if the data is 12 hours old, because what we deal with is tickets and problems, and we would start importing the new data, and we would have that gap that we could pay somebody. But we need to get up as soon as possible. Now here's the problem with that whole thing, and people don't really realize it until it happens to them. Here's your disaster recovery IT overview, and you can see all this stuff is all over the place. So when people are looking at recovery time objectives, you got data centers, expediting hardware, recovery sites, data vaulting, hot sites, and then you've got folders, system state, Active Directory, SQL servers, Exchange. Putting it all back together again, getting it to a data center, that can really affect your RTO. So that I spent more time on this slide because this is what we do. And then here's what I added. I mean, it's part of the package, but I was going to leave it out. But I've sat with people that specifically were not ready in a disaster because they didn't have their insurance information with them. So not only do you have to make sure you're buddy-buddy with your insurance agent, and if you're not, I know a lot of great insurance agents around here. They're customers here, and I've known them personally for years. I can refer you. But make sure you're up to date with them, and make sure you have verify that you have the necessary coverage. Also verify that you have all the information, just like your customers, just like your employees. Don't assume that you have all the information to file an insurance claim, because that's key to getting that started right away. the faster you get that money back, the better chance you have to survive. I mean, that's just it. All right, so now what's next? You'll notice that I tried to make this simple, so I made it 5 steps. I didn't want to make it 10, 20, 30, or 5 keys. And really, those 5 keys are just 10 steps. So for key 1, which is understanding the implication of your business, I only want you to do 2 things: the disaster diary and identify potential threats. For the employees, keeping the employees safe, 2 steps: develop a plan to communicate with your employees and preserve important employee records. For number 3, the customers, same thing, 2 steps: develop a plan to communicate and then protect sensitive customer data. The operations, I know I kind of talked on about that, but still only 2 steps. Determine how you operate your business remotely, and then test. Test, test, test. Don't assume that anybody's testing for you. I mean, that is key, even your backups. And then number 5, even though number 5 really doesn't have a lot to do with us, but I feel bad. You know, we've had people sitting in our office and they don't have a clue on how to even file an insurance claim. Some of them don't even know their insurance numbers. They don't even have a copy of their insurance forms. So make sure you take care of that stuff. And remember, business continuity is not just IT. I know that everybody seems to think it is, I guess because it's like a keyword that's been stuck to us and people freak out if their computers aren't ready. But it's a lot more than just IT. So you've got to make sure that it's, you know, you've got the whole package together. We can help you out with the disaster recovery, but business continuity is a whole different thing. The one thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and I know this is about writing the plan, but it is important. Most of you guys, I mean, now some of the stuff that happens with fires and stuff like that can't be prevented. There's a whole heck of a lot of you guys that experienced disasters that could have been prevented. So make sure when you're writing your plan, you're taking every step to prevent this. I know I use this story a lot. And the reason I use this story a lot with this company is because they've been sold 3 or 4 times, but we were they were on a premier plan. Now they've grown and they're bigger and they have their own IT staff. At the time they were on a premier plan and we were in charge of everything. So we got an alert and we were able to get there and bring them back online at 6:30 in the morning from something that would have potentially taken them down for a day because of the production machine. That saved them a ton of time and money. And I think they're still a customer to this day. Even though now they're a huge company, they're still a customer to this day because we were able to do that. So remember, prevention is the #1 thing you want to deal with. The way that we were able to prevent that and the way that we're able to prevent a lot of this stuff is through monitoring. If you're not monitoring your stuff, you're going to be pretty much a good chance that you're going to be your own worst nightmare. And I know we have a lot of people that are monitored. We have a lot of people that are managed. We also have a lot of customers that aren't. And those are the problem customers. And we're the cheapest around when it comes to monitoring. I've seen other companies, so we do this for you guys, the automated monitoring, to make sure you're still around. You've got inside the Netwatch plan, you've got monitoring, alerting, asset management, security assurance, preventative maintenance, reporting, and quarterly business reviews. Well, monitoring and alerting prevents disasters from happening. Asset management, I don't want you sitting in here in our office going, when you finally get your insurance information on the phone, and I've watched this happen, you don't even know what you owned IT-wise to make the claim because you don't have asset management and it's not stored off-site. The other thing that's killing a lot of small businesses is security. Security is huge. You guys are getting crypto locker. None of the managed customers that we have that have ever gotten it, but people that have gotten it, it can be easily prevented. The other thing is preventative maintenance. You have to do preventative maintenance on your equipment. We have this automated. We work on scripts all the time. Now, it's not the same thing as having, a real live person doing it. It's kind of, computers fixing computers, but we have over 180 scripts that we cycle through to help you guys. Reporting, that's another big thing. You've got to have reporting for a number of reasons. It definitely helps with disaster recovery. Excuse me. And then you have quarterly business reviews. This is an opportunity to prioritize stuff so you don't have that, and I've seen this. People have these old equipment that they didn't know what it did until it died. Then they find out that this thing was really, really important and they didn't know about it. It can't be replaced and it creates a total mess. So quarterly business reviews really help you with that. We also have the NetSecure. You can buy your own stuff and you can sit there for hours on end and try to configure it, but I can tell you no one that outsources it to us has ever gotten crypto locker. We live for this stuff. We watch it. We adjust them all. We have a fleet of these UTMs out there that we are working on constantly. All these prices are available at the customer knowledge base. This is another product that we do. We don't even make any money on it. We do it to keep you guys alive, because if something happens to our customers, that affects us. Then what we're going to go through, the two other services we have NetProtect Remote Backup, which can do servers. We don't suggest it. And then we have Disaster Recovery as a Service, which is the Datto stuff that we actually use. So we own the NetProtect Remote Backup. We built that. We own it. That is a file level backup. It is great for workstations, stuff like that. But we own it and we do not use it. For the servers, we use Datto. So all those things are on the sheet. You can look at them. The sheets that you guys get are standard. Everybody knows it's a customer here. There's ways to get discounts through bundling. They're not huge discounts because we try to keep everything as cheap as possible. If you bundle, you get a discount. If you prepay, you get a discount. Nothing's changed since the day we opened this place. But if you want to learn more, now all the techs have this. There's two tools that I want you guys to look at. The RTO calculator is what we talked about with the recovery time. It's recovery time objective. This is a great tool. All of our techs here have it. I've used it with a lot of you guys. Sit down and go through it. The link's there, datto.com /RTO. The other thing that people don't use is our customer knowledge base. If you have an account here, you have access to our customer knowledge base. And the guys here, if they find something of templates and policies that they feel that you guys can use and you guys as a group agree upon that that's a good template to throw in there, we throw it up there for everybody to use. So make sure you use those two tools. What we talked about a lot last month is we've decided to extend it. This was our Q1 bonus. It's a Passportal thing. Everybody that knows me knows I hate Passportal. We were a LastPass enterprise site. I didn't like that product, but it did the job until they got hacked. I know the guys that run Passportal. I've known them for years. Great group of guys. The price at $10 a month for the company vault and $4 a month for the personal vault is cheaper than LastPass Enterprise. LastPass Enterprise comes in cheap, but then it's not so cheap when you start using it like we did. This is designed for companies that really want to secure stuff and then want to work with an outsourced IT provider like us. This is a great solution. We use it, but there's no extra charge. So all those little things, like when you come here and you say, oh, I don't have my insurance policy number, I don't have my insurance policy password, I don't have this password, I don't have that password. The other thing is even when we put stuff back together, you guys don't have your passwords. We don't keep your passwords, and if we do, we keep them on Passportal. So don't look at us to keep your passwords. A lot of us remember them, but there's no guarantee that we're going to keep anybody's passwords for any length of time. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is I glazed over this slide, but the way most of you are doing disaster recovery is a disaster of recovery. And the reason I know this is because we put this stuff back together all the time. What this equals out to when you have a true disaster is Humpty Dumpty. You can see him grumpy there over on the right, and that's how you're going to be if you experience a disaster and you're not prepared, because it takes a long time for us to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And you're going to be sitting there, you're going to be calling me, I'm going to be working, and everybody's going to be miserable. The reason that I bring this up is because, and the whole reason we're doing this is you've got to check out Datto's solution. We use it. We have, I think, 20 servers. Most of you guys don't. I was a little hesitant at first because not that we really didn't want to spend the money. We just thought we could do it better because we had been doing it on our own for so long. If you look at the money, us for 20 servers, it's probably $15 a day. I can't pay a guy to do all that work. There's no IT worker in the world that can do what these solutions do. Now, that's us. Most of you guys don't have that many servers. Most of you guys are looking at $5 a day, and their solution is different than, I mean, some of you that have it, I hope that everybody that has it comes out, because we're going to do it at, Datto's going to take everybody to the Station Tap House in Doylestown. It's a cool place to go. I think we're going to have a great time. I hope all the existing people that have it show up so they can find out the updates. If you don't have it and you want to learn about it, I mean, this is physical to virtual stuff. It's unlike anything you've ever seen at a really low price. So make sure that, I think this event's going to fill up quickly, so make sure that you sign up and that you have things going. Now, for anybody that wants to sign up, anybody that listens to this and wants to sign up for Datto but doesn't have a Datto, I'm going to do a free BDR needs assessment for any of the attendees. There's my contact information. There's Jake's contact information. Reach out to us. I'll remote into your server. We're going to do a BDR assessment. It takes about 2 hours. That's on the quick assessment. I'm not going to do the long assessment. We will do the quick assessment. Usually we charge a lot of money for this. There's only 2 things you need to know, because I don't want you guys showing up to the Datto thing and then being ill-prepared. I hope you got a lot out of this, but I want you to be prepared if you're serious, so you ask the right questions and you see if it's a good fit. The only caveat to this is you got to let us know by April 30th, because we got to have these things to you guys before May 25th. So that's, you know, that we want some time to say, hey, this is where you're at. This is where it's going to benefit you. If you already have a Datto, don't call me, because I'm not going to do it. These are for people that want to get a Datto. If you already have a Datto, I hate to say it, if you already have a Datto, you know what I like about it is the best way to get something off your plate is to let somebody else do it, and that's why I got it. That's why we use it here. Now, we don't have the Altos, we have a Cirrus, but still, if you have a Datto, you're in the 50% that I'm not worried about losing Datto or losing data. So you're in the other 50%. I'm not worried about disaster recovery, because I know I can fire that thing up at any moment. Every morning I see a screenshot of our booted critical servers. But anyway, I'll sit down. I'll do this for you. There's going to be no obligation to buy. Come out. We'll do lunch at the bar. We'll hang out. We'll talk afterwards. So I don't want you guys to feel that there's any obligation to buy. Just set enough, like I said, 2.5 hours. It's not painful to do. It's just questions. The more you answer honestly, the better off we'll all be. But that's it. I hope you guys join us, and then we're going to get to any questions. We're probably going to shut down the recording because sometimes questions take too long, but thanks for coming. And then, Jake, do we have any questions? Or
At the moment, I think we did a good job because there's no other questions.
Cool. You either did a good job or a bad job. All right. Thanks, everybody.